November is our last chance to get cool season crops established quickly. The soil is warm, but it's cooling off. And in today's video, I'll show you what to plant so they can get established before the even shorter and cooler days come. I'm Angela from Growing in the Garden. My garden's in Mesa, Arizona. I want to help you succeed, even if you're gardening in tough conditions. You may have planted most of your garden last month, but now's the time to fill any of those empty spots. Replace spent warm season crops and don't miss this opportunity to plant our favorite cool season vegetables, herbs, and flowers. Greens. It's finally cool enough to plant them. Plant from seed or transplant this month. Plant all of our favorites like kale and spinach, lettuce, Swiss chard, greens, pak choi, and arugula. I have some larger transplants I picked up at the nursery and some smaller ones I started indoors. I'll plant them both so I can have a continual harvest. Wondering how far apart to plant? Just check the spacing guidelines. Still an excellent time to plant root crops. All of the things like radishes, turnips, parsnips. Remember, all of these root crops do best planted from seeds directly in the garden. Carrots are one of those crops that once they get going, they're so easy to grow and they're delicious in the garden. But the trick is getting them going. If you haven't had luck in the past, you can try seed tape. Seed tape makes it easy because the carrots are right there. You don't have to handle any small seedlings. Just layer it right on top of the soil. Then you're gonna come back in and sprinkle with a light layer of soil. All that's left to do is water this, and then the seeds can begin germinating. Radishes are nice because the seeds are a little bit larger, and we love this variety. It's white on the outside and red in the middle. It's a lot of fun to grow. So I'm gonna plant 16 per square. The seeds are a little larger, so it's easy to just have one seed, so you don't have to come back in and thin these. Sprinkle a light layer of soil over the top. Now let's get these watered. There's still time to plant brassicas, broccoli, cabbage, kale. Fill those empty spots in your beds, or if you're like me and the birds got some of yours, get some more planted. You can plant from seed or transplant. There's still time to buy seed potatoes and get them planted. Finding seed potatoes in the fall can be tricky. I get mine from Wood Prairie Farm online. If you haven't planted your garlic, get it in the ground. Same thing with celery. Look for transplants or use the cut-off ends of a grocery store bunch. Plant lentils, garbanzo beans, fava beans, and peas this month. They do best planted from seed directly in the garden. If you're planting peas, give them something to climb. This is our favorite Super Sugar Snap peas. Gonna plant all along this trellis. These crops prefer cool soil, but get established best when it's still warm. So they'll grow quicker if you can get them planted this month. I tend to overplant and then come back in and thin. Sometimes the roly-polies like these, so they'll eat some of them. Peas are nice because they don't take up much room in the bed. They just grow vertically, so they can share a bed with just about anything. I'm gonna have cut flowers growing in this bed, but the peas will grow along here on the trellis. So overplanting a little bit, but I'll come back in here and thin. This variety of fava beans was my favorite last year, so I'm definitely planting some this season. I always have to double check the spacing on different beans. Fava beans are planted 4 per square. And because these seeds are larger, that means I'll plant them a little bit deeper. Remember, plant seeds about twice as deep as they are large. If you're gardening in areas that receive less sunlight, like this side yard garden, it doesn't get as much sun. So if you're planting in those areas, space plants further apart so they're not competing with each other for that sunlight. Here's what to plant if you have less than ideal sunlight. These plants will tolerate shadier conditions. As spots open up in your garden, don't forget to fill them. Keeping these seeds on hand is an easy way to make sure you get the most production out of your garden. They all grow easily from seed, and it's simple to tuck in a few seeds when a spot opens up. If you haven't already, get your strawberries planted. The roots like plenty of time to get established before next summer and it gets too hot. Other fruit you can plant this month are things like blackberries and goji berries. Plant perennial herbs this month. Learn a little bit about each one so you know the best spot in your yard to plant them, and they will grow well for years. Things like oregano, sage, rosemary, thyme, lemongrass, and mint. Don't forget to add lots of annual herbs to your garden. These are perfect for filling in those empty spots in your beds and they will invite all kinds of beneficial insects and pollinators. Here's a list of my favorite cool season herbs and flowers that attract beneficial insects and pollinators. Add some to each bed. November is the end of the planting window for many of our favorite bulbs and corms. If you haven't already, plant anemones, ranunculus, and other bulbs in November. I'm excited to share there is a new flower guide coming soon. It will make it easy to see which bulbs and corms that you need to plant this month. It will give you lots of tips for growing beautiful flowers. If you want to plant flower seeds this month, here are some of my favorite flowers that do well started from seeds right in the garden. It's a good time to plant sweet peas. Sweet peas are in the bean family. They have sensitive roots and like to be planted directly in the garden. But if you want to start seeds indoors, use these root trainers. It gives lots of room for each seedling so that they adjust well to your garden. When you're planting sweet peas, choosing a shady location will let them bloom longer into the summer, but if it's sunnier, you're gonna get blooms quicker. So I do a combination of both. You definitely want to give them something to climb. A friend and I made these fun willow trellises. I'm excited to grow sweet peas up through these trellises. These cool season flowers are easy to find at nurseries and big box stores. It's an excellent time to plant. I'm going to show you my favorite combinations so you can add them to your containers and have blooms through spring. Geraniums and alyssum are a classic combination. Put the geraniums in the middle and a couple of alyssums around the outside. The alyssums will trail along the outside of the container, fill in, and be beautiful. Gazanias and violas come in lots of different colors. Choose coordinating ones and plant them together. The violas are going to fill along the outside. The gazanias will bloom up through the middle. When it gets hot, these will die back and it'll give that gazania all of the room in this pot. Petunias are an easy cool season flower. Give them their own container, you'll have lots of blooms. A tall flower like snapdragons pairs well with a low mounding flower like alyssum. My favorite combination is blue salvia and lobelia. There's something about those bright blue flowers as a pop of color in the garden that I love. Fall and winter seasons are nice because just about any container will grow well. Most of the year it's too hot for hanging baskets. They will dry out so quickly. But when temperatures cool, I love adding a few to my garden. Petunias are perfect for hanging baskets because they'll trail over the top of it. Let me show you how I plant them. Fill the bottom with soil. I'm going to put as much soil in there as possible. Use a regular potting soil for this. I'm using the raised bed mix from Arizona Worm Farm. It's perfect for raised beds and containers. Once you've got them filled up with soil, I like to add a little bit of some fertilizer in there. We're going to be watering these quite a bit, and those nutrients are going to leach right out the bottom. Add some water to the soil before I plant here. If you find that your plants are not growing well, there's two reasons why this could happen. Number one, drainage. That water, if it's not able to drain out, will rot your roots. So if plants are just not thriving or seem to be struggling, check and make sure that there's good drainage and that when you water, the water is draining out. The second reason is that sometimes soil in these hanging baskets can dry out too much and become hydrophobic. And then when you water, that water drains right out and isn't absorbed. So check the soil, make sure that it's absorbing water, that it's draining. Now let's get these hung up. I leave these up all year, and I'm excited to finally put the flowers back inside. For more information about all the things you can plant this month and the seeds to start indoors, check out my calendars or the guides on my website. What are you most excited to plant this month? Let me know in the comments. Did I say that before? Okay, sweet. Thank you. If you haven't, can I start with if you haven't? Okay. I think that's enough. Or no, do I need to finish it? Do I need to say that again? Okay.